It's time for Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group with financial advisors Kevin Korhorn, Mike Bernard, and Josh Gregory.
Welcome to another episode of Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group, where every week we're helping you take your next wise step in your financial life. My name is Mike Bernard. Thank you so much for being with us today. I am your host. I'm also one of the certified financial planners on the show. With me in the KFG studios today, as usual, certified financial planner Josh Gregory, but special guest, Dr. Gregg Chenoweth.
Yeah, have you ever wrestled with the idea of going back to college or advancing your education in some way? You know, is it worth it? How would you pay for it if you did? You know, these are issues that a lot of people wrestle with, and we're excited to address these questions and more with our special guest, Dr. Gregg Chenoweth, President of Bethel College.
That's right. If you have any questions, we're going to be hitting one kind of throughout the program today, and maybe a couple others. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us in a couple different ways. Find us online, wisemoneyradio.com. You can call or text 574-222-2000. Don't text while you're driving. Call or text 574-222-2000. And also all over social media, we've got the YouTube channel running, so if you want to see us in the studio, you can check us out there. Facebook, Twitter as well. Just search Wise Money Radio. Welcome to the program, Dr. Chenoweth.
I'm honored to be here, guys.
Oh,
Thanks.
we are delighted to have you. Thanks for giving up some time today to be with us in the studio. It's been, Josh has been thinking about this for a while, so we're so glad to have you on the program. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself in just a second. I know you've been at the helm of Bethel College for the past 5 years, and I also know there's been a lot of excitement brewing, a lot of exciting changes that have been happening. I'm going to tee that up in just a second. So, but what else about you do we need to know? Family, kids, and even what book are you reading right now, if you wouldn't mind sharing that as well?
Yeah, sure. So Tammy's my wife, happily married for 29 years now. Emphasis on happily. It's possible, right? I think it gets easier the longer it goes, so we're actually really grateful for that. 3 adult kids, so we're empty nesters now. We call it parenting 5.0. We figure there's at least 4 parenting phases before they're, launched out of the nest.
That's another program, folks. I think we're going to invite you back.
Yeah. We're thinking actively about what does it mean for us to parent effectively in this phase. And so, anyway, 3 adult kids, almost age 26, then 22 and 21. 2 of them are married, so I keep saying twice now I've hit the son-in-law jackpot.
Ah, nice.
Really great guys. Love having them in the family. And, I should mention, a dog, Maple.
Okay.
Multi-poo, 10 pounds, little fur ball, little nothing, little lightweight, but she's a lot of fun.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, before we dive in, I mentioned that you've been the catalyst with a great team, right, at Bethel, making some really exciting changes. And one change is about the name, right? Why don't you share us a little bit about that change, how it all came about, and all of that?
Yeah, so we started in 1947, Bethel College. Most people know us that way. But in May of 2019, we will become Bethel University.
All right.
Literally May 6th, 8 a.m. We answer the phones that way. The emails change. Between now and then, signage changes. But main reason is our composition has changed. And what we're doing, most people would think, is a university. They're surprised if they're meeting us. We use the name college. I guess the highlight would be now 1 out of 8 of our students are in graduate programs, more research focused. About 1 out of 10 are online. We literally have online students that have never been to campus. We have online students in Arizona and Florida and the Carolinas and Tennessee, all of that. And then about 1 out of 12 or 13 are born outside the U.S. And in almost every other part of the world except for the United States, college connotes community college. And so we have a lot of students who say their parents are asking them, after you're done at Bethel College, when are you going to the university?
Wow.
Yeah, so this was a board-initiated question, and they retain jurisdiction over that. But enormous support for that. We actually hired an outside firm to help us think through this shift of name and identity with our constituents. Super high support for this, enthusiasm about that. So that's coming in 2019.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Bethel University and Bethel has the Adult and Graduate Studies program has been a supporter of the Wise Money Show from the very beginning, and it just flows right off my tongue as I get to say that each and every show, and I might stammer a little bit when I switch to Bethel University.
That's right. You know what I love with you helping to lead that transition, you're seeing something that most college presidents never experienced during their tenure, and you've had to wrestle with the board at Bethel on, why do this, how do you pull it off effectively, that sort of thing. But it gives you a unique perspective, and I've been excited to have you on the show for a while because I think you're going to bring an insider's perspective on this whole notion of college, university, how we develop young professionals, young people into productive adults, and this question of, is college still relevant today? I think you're going to be able to help us answer that question. I'm excited to have you.
Let's dive in. Recently, we received a fabulous question from a fan of the show, Scott, 31, Buchanan. I'm thinking about going back to school, but my wife is worried about the cost. I see it as a future investment. She sees us as us going further into debt. How can I figure this out without going into the hole financially?
I love the candor that Scott's demonstrating with this question.
Throwing his wife under the bus there?
That's right.
Okay.
But it's a common question, and really it's one that we often hear of parents sending their kids back, off to college. He's asking it for himself going back to school. But embedded in this question is, can I afford it? If so, how can I afford it? And thirdly, should I afford it? And so the very first question, it's baptism by fire around here. We're already asking you to mediate between two spouses, right? So what do you say if we started with that question of should I afford it? Can you talk about who's right in this situation, Scott or his spouse?
Yeah, it's a fair question, and we get that a lot, of course. I would say college debt is emotionally fantastic. It's worth acknowledging that. It scares people.
Yeah.
But if we enact our brains and not our heart on that, it is still the most efficient financial return to a person's life, probably of any other possible outcome. And there's lots of dimensions of this we could talk about. I'll say a few things. You just redirect me. There's so many sub-issues there. But, the average college debt in America is about $28,000. You think with me about how many people spend that on a wedding?
Yeah.
How many people who are 25 years old spend that on a new truck? And you know how it is. You drive that new car off the lot, you're losing $2,000 or $3,000 before the sun sets.
Yeah.
That wedding, it's a sacred event, but it's a fancy dinner party and it's gone. But somebody has said there's nothing that actually appreciates in value other than land and education. Even the house that you own, if you do the amortization, cost of ownership is pretty high, right?
Yeah, it is.
So you're going to sell it at a high rate later, but taxes and upkeep and renovations, you don't probably get a whole lot ahead financially, but you definitely do with college. And a couple of quick illustrations would be that the average lifetime career earnings for a person with a degree is $1.5 million. So at Bethel, we've done the math, and for every $1 in tuition, you're getting $25 back.
Wow.
So if it scares you to have a little debt, you need to look at return on investment or value, not just price.
There's when I was first learning about when I was first learning that I had a passion for finance, and personal finance at that, there was a distinguish between financial capital and human capital. And I think, and Josh and I, we probably don't focus on this enough. But there's a big, high emphasis about building financial wealth, building financial capital, and possibly not as much on investing in your human capital. That's the return you're talking about, and investing in your skills and your knowledge that you can then trade for a return in the marketplace.
I like the spirit of Scott's question too, though, because he framed it as going back to college. So he either started and didn't finish, or maybe he's wanting to do another degree, some sort of an advanced degree. But that's the world that we live in, isn't it? That it's not just 4 years of school and then you're done. It's really setting yourself on a path of ongoing lifetime learning, constantly recalibrating. and sharpening the saw, as Stephen Covey says.
So there's several places we're going to take this question as we have this conversation unfold with Dr. Gregg Chenoweth, and we're thrilled with that. But there's several facets to it, and we're going to talk more and more about how you can approach college planning, even whether your son or daughter, whether it's appropriate to consider them working while in school, and what options are available to you to make school as affordable as possible. So still a lot more to come here with Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group. All right.
I'm gonna
That went quick.
adjust.
I know, I saw that sliding down.
Watching gravity pull this.
I didn't even look at that.
Yeah, I don't think I either. Set it up.
I also realized I never answered your question about
That's all right.
book you're reading and stuff like that.
Well, that can be bonus YouTube content. Yep. All right.
I can tell you about that since I just thought about it.
Yeah?
I am a reader. I am
I
totally.
knew that about you, which is why I put that
Well,
in
I'm
there.
totally dependent upon the thoughts of other people. I'm humble about that.
Yeah, me
I'm always
too.
hunting for a good idea. And you know what I'm doing right now? I've been doing for 2 years. I've been reading through the top 50 books. I'm not done. I have more to go. That were recommended by Bill Gates.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
he's got a great list.
And why do that? Well, he's an extraordinarily fascinating person and very eclectic. The list is very diverse. So I'm probably 2/3 through that. What I'm reading right now was one of his recommendations. It's The Angels of Our Nature, Better Angels of Our Nature by Steven Pinker. He's actually an atheist. He's a British scholar, and its central claim, I mean, it's long, 800 pages or something, but its central claim is that the world is getting more moral and safer, not worse. It's really a data-based approach to that question. And so, anyway, that's what I'm reading right now.
That is interesting. Okay. Well, hopefully for you YouTubers, that inspires you to, this show is always about taking your next wise step. And as we talk about human capital, learning from others, right? So, we'd hopefully maybe encourage you to grab that book or grab something, start reading. It is holidays. There's lots of time to be off work and lounge around and watch football. Grab a good book instead.
People know that people in my life know that I don't usually want socks for a gift or whatever, but they give me Barnes and Noble's cards.
There you go.
That's basically what I do is I go buy that stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I lobby for every date night. Let's go out for dinner and then arrive at Barnes and Noble and sit next to each other
my kids
and
are like
just
that too.
By the
my
fireplace.
my wife doesn't go for that though.
My kids, that's where they want to go.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, they love it.
And then you make them go home and buy the book on Amazon.
That's
Is that
right.
how you roll?
I will sit there in Barnes & Noble and I will look it up on Amazon. Sorry, I'm a capitalist. So. Okay,
You're
so
a cheapskate.
that too. Okay, so where do we want to take this question? Do we go another layer there, Josh? As you teed it up, you hit a few facets.
Oh, the should you afford it? How do you afford it?
Or do
and
we just
can I afford it?
Well, let me see what we have next.
Well, I
bit.
really am interested in hearing a little bit more about and I don't know if this is public knowledge yet, or I realize that this doesn't apply to everybody, but the low debt you or no debt you concept, just the fact that Bethel is thinking proactively about how do we keep college affordable. In fact, how do we make it more affordable as time goes on?
I think that puts us right on agenda as I look at the next question that tees right into that. So
Cool.
let's do that. All right.
As long as you think that's appropriate to
Sure,
share
of
with
course.
the
Of
public
course.
and everything.
Sure.
We're probably gonna spark a whole bunch of calls to Bethel. How do I get a free education? You call Hillary, right?
Yeah.
Oh. All right. How can you help your son or daughter graduate college with that human capital invested in that brain with as little debt as possible, ready to succeed in life? That's what we're talking about today. I'm so glad that you're with us. This is Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group. My name's Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, Joshua Gregory, and special guest, President of Bethel College, Dr. Gregg Chenoweth, thanks for being with us. I want to say special thanks to the attorneys at Ladue, Kern, and Keene, as well as First State Bank, for making the Wise Money Show possible. Thank you very much. Couldn't do it without you. If you have a question, we're tackling one right now. If you have a question, you can call or text 574-222-2000. Find us online, wisemoneyradio.com, or all over social media, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Just search Wise Money Radio. So we had a question chime in from one of the listeners in Buchanan and said, listen, I'm thinking about going back to school, unsure about the cost. I think it's a worthwhile investment. Wife's not sure. How do we do it? And specifically said, we're concerned about debt. So, Dr. Chenoweth, can you chime in and talk about how, or either what Bethel's doing or just your perspective on how can people get through school with as little debt as possible?
Yeah, there's all kinds of interesting and important things to talk about there. Even how much is acceptable level of debt and managing that. But as far as paying for college, one of the solutions is a specific program. There are debt-free paths. But just to put that option in context, how is college paid for? Well, I think the reason this question intimidates people is it's not easy. It's not like going and buying a pack of gum, a simple transaction. There are lots of moving parts. So when you think about it, there are 5, 6, 7 different sources involved to pay for college. You know, the first one paying for college is the institution. People forget that. The headlines like to express outrage about the cost of college, but we're the first one in. And so we have several ways that we help pay. So one category will be merit-based aid. One category is need-based aid. And the third will be endowments. Merit-based aid is scholarships for academic strength or, say, an athletic scholarship, music, art, theater, things like that, based on the merit of their skill. For example, right now at Bethel, there could be a $16,000 scholarship per year for academics alone.
Wow.
Merit. So, yeah, people should definitely get tutors and study and do well in the classroom. It literally pays, you know.
We talk to a lot of parents who get intimidated by the sticker price, not realizing just how much aid can come down, what kind of discounts can be applied to their son or daughter's school bill. And, more and more schools are putting right there on their website almost like a calculator on what would an appropriate amount of discount, what's an expectation that they could have. It'll get refined through the financial aid process. But what I'm hearing, though, is that the sticker price should not turn someone away, no matter what school they're looking at, really.
That's a really important point. Some language matters. Vocabulary in this area matters. Cost and price and value are different things.
Yeah.
So that gets that discount rate question. The sticker price is not what people pay. What they pay is net cost to them. And so you're right. You could have this is a very important point to people shopping for colleges. You really don't shop, actually, on list price. In fact, it's more expensive. You have to kind of get your brain calculator up for this. It's actually more expensive to go to a cheaper school if it takes you longer to graduate. What I mean is,
that's a huge point.
You go to, say, a public school, lower price, but you don't graduate for 6 or 7 years. And by the way, the graduation rates, based in data, U.S. Department of Ed, National Center for Statistics bears this out. About 60% of people at a private school graduate in 4 years. About 40% at a public school graduate in 4 years, and it's even less at a for-profit institution. So if you're choosing a college based on price alone, the speed to degree matters. So if you're paying more each year for 4 years, or less each year for 5 or 6, you might be paying more actually for your college experience in the second equation. Here's another point to that. There's an indirect cost. In year 5, if you're still in college, you don't have income.
That's right.
So over 6 years' time, ironically, you could pay more per year for 4 years, work year 5 and 6, and be tens of thousands of dollars ahead than going to a cheaper school for 6 years or 7.
What a wonderful perspective. What a helpful perspective. And you mentioned, shopping for college. Careful, don't do that based on price. There are a lot of people shopping for college, if you will, right now because of the FAFSA applications, which I'd remind you, those opened October 1. So make sure you're submitting those if you haven't yet already. Send those in. But yeah, be careful when you're selecting if it's just based on price. Those other factors to consider. That's brilliant. Yes.
You know what I like about that advice or that perspective as well is it emphasizes the students' involvement. It's their choices. You know, how aggressively they're making their way through school, how dialed in and focused they are. It is your choice what school you go to, and it's your choice how long it takes you. And even the preparation that you as parents help your child with in choosing a major. You know, are they truly researching the field that they think that they want to go into? Are they experiencing it in some way, or you know, doing job shadows, internships, those types of things, so they can validate or confirm that decision before they start college, so that they don't spin their wheels in college, changing majors multiple times and extending that college career potentially.
So you mentioned there were 7 ways to pay for college, and I'm not sure if you hit all of those there. You started with the scholarship. So is there more to add there?
Yeah, I just want to help your listeners realize there's an awful lot more help than they might think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Number one is actually the college is the first one to help pay for their son or daughter, right? So average discount rate in America for a private college is about 40%.
Wow.
There was actually an article this week in the Chronicle of Higher Ed that said among private colleges, 1 out of 5 of them have a discount rate of 60%.
Wow.
So the institutions are giving merit aid. We talked about academics, music. Our second category would be need-based aid. And so after we find out on their literally merits what need there is based on EFC, estimated family contribution, the FAFSA process, there's aid there. Third would be endowment. So most colleges do have an endowment, and that's going to be a very targeted sector. So if there might be a family who endowed a scholarship and they said, we want to help fund, for example, a female student who wants to be a nurse from an impoverished family. And so there's money there. So the institution has 3 ways in first. Another way, it's paid for college, of course, outside grants. Don't forget that. I know of a student that helped pay half of her tuition by little pockets of grants all over the place.
Love it.
You know,
Yes.
her part-time employer, if it's a big company, might have that. The third way is need-based grants from the state. In Indiana, you can get up to, hold on, are you sitting down, up to $9,000 a year based on financial need from the state of Indiana.
How would a family uncover that? Through the
FAFSA,
admission?
FAFSA,
Okay.
and EFC. Yeah, that's right. So like our financial aid counselors let them know that based on their what we call EFC, estimated family contribution. So state aid, federal aid, Pell Grants, up to about $5,000 or $6,000 per year. I mean, if you are what we call a zero EFC, based on your FAFSA, your income statements, you're not expected to have almost anything to contribute to college. If you're in Indiana, you've got $15,000 per year just from federal Pell Grants and then state grants.
Wow.
And then another area, of course, the family should cash flow what they can. Don't forget Uncle Jim and Grandma Myrtle. You know, don't forget to ask them. Many times, if they're just saying, what if Grandma can cover your books?
Yeah.
So asking there.
And timely there, Dr. Chenoweth, because it's gift-giving season, right? And so do you get another gift card to Abercrombie, or do you get them, their books for next
Textbooks under the tree this year, right?
That's right. That's right. So yeah, very, very timely.
I want to mention kind of a power stroke in a way to pay for college. I call it the 1-year debt-free wand. It's like a magic wand you wave over your debt. We recommend this to our families, and increasingly they're practicing it. What we say is, make a covenant with your child. If they graduate in 4 years as an incentive, tell them, live in our home completely debt-free, no rent, no costs. We're just going to carry you the first year out of college at home. And we don't care what kind of jobs you have. It's no comment on your professional trajectory. I don't care if you're scooping ice cream and cutting grass. Job 1 in that 5th year is to pay off all your college debt. And I'm telling you, I know of a couple that got married out of college. In 2 years, they paid off $100,000.
I love it.
I know of another family. I saw her. She's a Bethel nursing graduate. It was in 18 months, she paid off $40,000 in debt. So when you think of the long list of ways to pay for college, I haven't even mentioned loans yet.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But
Most people think that's the first thing, but
Right.
that's kind of the last thing.
So we've got that as well. If you do need to go into debt, what's an acceptable level? We're going to talk about that and more coming up here on Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group. Oh,
Love that.
good.
That was great.
Good.
I never did get to your prompt about Field Scholar Program or debt-free paths, but
That's okay. We'll come
we
back
can
to
pick
it.
it up some.
Yep.
So do you want to pick that back up and then hit to what's an acceptable?
How about because you're going to hit debt as is that number 7 on the list, or were we
Yes.
at 6 or whatever? Maybe after you mention it, just from a generic borrowing standpoint, student loans and everything, maybe I can hit you with the question about what Bethel's doing ultimately, because it is exciting.
Yeah.
So let's hit that, and then embedded somewhere in the agenda, but I really want to hit it.
Can
Go
I
ahead.
also add an item to the list? Can I add an 8th item too?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, because it'll be related to tax planning.
Great. And then I want to chew on what's an acceptable level of debt. And so that was sort of embedded a little bit in that last conversation. So, okay, very good. Third segment. Are you getting as much merit-based, need-based, both from the school and endowments as well from the state and government as possible, so that the cost of sending your child or yourself to college is as low as possible? I hope so. We've ran through a few tips and a little bit of that process. This is Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm excited that you're joining. My name's Mike Bernard. Here with me in the KFG studio is Josh Gregory and special guest, President of Bethel College, Dr. Gregg Chenoweth. Speaking of, I want to say thank you to Bethel College Adult and Graduate Studies for sponsoring the Wise Money Show. They've done so from the beginning. Thank you on behalf of all of us at KFG for making that and supporting this program. Also say thanks to Diane Bennett and her team of realtors at RE/MAX 100 for helping to make the Wise Money Show possible as well. We've been talking about college planning, and boy, a few different perspectives that normally we don't get to here on this program. So already, Dr. Chenoweth, your perspective has been incredibly helpful. If you have any questions, we've got a few more to hit. Reach out to us, 574-222-2000. You can call or text 574-222-2000. WiseMoneyRadio.com is how you find us online, and then Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Just search Wise Money Radio. So we're in the middle, or near the end, I should say, of addressing the different ways you pay for college, and you put them in a certain order, which starts with the college and university, right, and then merit-based and so on. But let's finish that list here.
Right. Well, we're talking about 7 or 8 ways that college paid for. What if loans were the last point, not the first point? And what I'd just like to say about college debt, I've said earlier, it's emotionally fantastic, but it's the most reasonable and efficient way for return on investment that's possible. Some people say, I must get my son or daughter through college debt-free. Debt-free is obviously a powerful concept. But how about this? How about revenue-generating debt? How about revenue-generating expenses? So if you know, on average, from college debt, you're going to get, on average, by career, $1.5 million over your working years from that. To have $20,000 in debt is actually pretty smart.
Yeah.
So just a few thoughts on debt is that I think most people really have a misunderstanding of how much debt most people have. I'd like to just define normal there. This is from research. This is from U.S. Department of Ed, census data, things like that. College debt's kind of like a fish story. It gets exaggerated the more people talk about it. In reality, only 5% of college borrowers have over $100,000 in debt. Only 5% in America. And almost all of that is graduate and professional programs. Let me tell you about my niece. My niece Alyssa graduated her undergrad with 0 debt.
Nice.
But she now has about $200,000 in debt because she's a veterinarian.
Okay.
She was married. They decided to just do that all on debt, and she's going to have a high-income career. They've amortized that out. They made a self-conscious choice for that. So people going into law and medicine, that tends to be the profile. When you either headline 100,000, it's usually that, just 5%. Secondly, only I say as much as 1/4 of college borrowers graduate with no debt still, 1 out of 4 in
Okay.
America. Doesn't matter what institution type. Third comment is the highest levels of debt are for graduates in for-profit institutions. So it's not just all colleges are monolithic, which institution types.
Yeah.
So private colleges, you're getting a high price and high discount model, high price and high discount. Average net cost tends to be half. At Bethel, our discount rate is about 47%. So, but you're not getting that model for public institutions or for-profit. So the national data is that at for-profits, a third of the graduates have more than 40,000. But at public schools, it's about 20%, and private's in between. So institution type, it varies. Last thing I'd say is the average debt in America is 28 or 30,000. And so the really important question, I think, is value,
Yeah.
not debt. Is this a revenue-generating kind of debt in my life? I would never advise, and I have not advised my family, to go buy a brand new car, drive it off the lot, you lose money that day. But this is one of the rare areas where you're getting high return. The kind of silly way I say it sometimes is, if in Bethel's case, $1 of tuition gets you $25 back over your working years, you cannot get that ROI at the blackjack table in Vegas. You're not going to get that flipping houses. So it is pretty efficient debt financially.
Yeah.
The voice you're hearing is Dr. Gregg Chenoweth, president of Bethel College, and sharing with us 7 different ways that people help pay for college. And I want to add an 8th one that is, it could fly under the radar screen potentially. You know this show as a financial planning show, and we're always talking about tax planning, but a lot of folks, they don't fully appreciate some of the tax planning opportunities that exist when you get to the college years or as you're preparing for the college years. We've often talked about things like the Indiana 529 plan and how there's an incentive for you to set aside money into an education account for your son or daughter and receive a 20% credit. That's $1,000 potentially that you could have off your tax bill each year that you make that contribution. So if you're going to be sending money off to a college or university, it's important to even funnel the money into the 529 plan before it goes to the school, because it can make you eligible for this tax savings. And also on the federal tax return, there are things like tax credits that you can receive there as well. The American Opportunity Credit is a big one.
The chance is there for $2,500 of tax credit. That's free money that you don't have to pay back on $4,000 of tuition. And so maximize that. Unfortunately, I've seen a lot of people who are to the point where they could be eligible for that. Kids are in college, they're spending that money, but they don't have the margin in their life, and so their income's above the threshold, and those credits are phasing out. When in fact, if there was a little bit more margin, you could save more into your 401k, make your income look a little bit smaller, and qualify for those things. And so, yes, once again, take a tax planning approach, because government tax credits are the possible 8th way to help pay for college.
That's right.
You know, there's a 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, actually, when you think about it, because for an adult student who wants to go back to college, we have this, some colleges have it as PLA, Prior Learning Assessment. What happens is, say you've got a 32-year-old single mom who's a bookkeeper. She doesn't need college because her job is stable, but if the job market softens, if there's a financial duress, she loses her job, she's want to have some stability from her degree. Well, because she's already been doing bookkeeping for so long, she applies for Prior Learning Assessment, PLA. She petitions to not have to take some college classes based on her competency already established in those classes. So now, instead of doing a 4-year degree, she only has to do 3.5 or 3.
Yeah.
It's literally cheaper for the degree, PLA. Another example is we have some special programs that are designed for the poor students. So for example, Bethel is launching something called Field Scholar Program. Students who have the least capacity to pay for college, we've designed a method that they basically cash flow and work their way through college. We have arrangements with guaranteed employment. Imagine, for 4 years.
Oh my goodness.
Employers who have said, I'll guarantee them, say, 15 hours of work during the school year, 30 to 40 hours in the summer. And then we're supplementing that with a one-on-one mentor, with financial management counsel every semester. So for example, they're not getting a windfall of cash and then going to buy a Camaro.
Yeah.
They'll have a work-life seminar once a semester that coaches them in our worldview about what it means to serve God through your work, not just your employer. So things like punctuality and teamwork and problem solving actually have a theological basis. So it's bigger than just punching a clock. And through all these mechanisms, we've actually figured out a way that a student can actually still, in 2018, graduate debt-free. Another thing comes to my mind is AP credits in high school.
I was going to ask your perspective on that.
Yep.
Are you a fan of that?
Yeah, we have students more and more that are coming with as many as 30 college credits they
Wow.
earned during high school. That's a full year of college.
Yeah.
So what they're really paying for in college is 3 years. But this is more and more popular. Students in high school and their parents are more assertive about those things.
Yeah.
The last thing I'd say, too, I don't know what number we're on, 12, 13, 14, is even the format that you're choosing within the same institution. So a traditional on-ground student, the per credit rates are higher than an adult student on ground that comes in and out, and even cheaper for an online student. So an
Yeah.
online format program, by format, even if you're local, might be a financial solution. We've got a student in Bethel online now. She lives in Elkhart. You think, why doesn't she just drive 20 minutes to campus for classes? Why is she doing it online? She works for a Fortune 100 company. She has 4 kids, and she works 50 hours a week. And it's cheaper.
That's great. So, and that
awesome.
ties in. I want to get your perspective on a couple other things. How much debt do you think is acceptable? And then, is it acceptable to be working, even part-time, as an undergrad or what have you, and still going to college? I want to get your perspective. So, still lots to come here on Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group. I gotta say, I sort of lost myself there just listening. So
You forgot that you have to still
yes.
steer.
and then think about what are we going to talk about next? I was just thinking about what you were sharing.
Yeah, this is
Yep.
fantastic content.
Okay, so I say we just navigate or sort of abandon the original agenda, and because I'm looking
You
at
don't want to try to get to a few listener questions?
are some of these embedded? I guess is the question, because to frame them as listener questions, I know
That makes it more personal.
and less nerdy.
Because we could cover a topic, but if we already have someone who asked the question, that will cause us to cover the topic.
Okay, so let's hit Gavin's question then. We'll start with Gavin's question about child who's a freshman, and we weren't thinking we'd want him to get a part-time job to help pay for school, but rather focus on good grades. You typically recommend that, and we can take that wherever we'd like. So this is the last segment. We got 10 minutes. It goes fast.
Okay.
And
By the way, I want to defer to your agenda. One question you thought you might want to explore today, I actually put to my own kids. You said, something like, we might have time to explore what advice you give to parents to help them launch well from the nest. I actually emailed my own kids
That's cool.
because they're just a few years out to ask them what do they reflect upon in our household that they thought helped them launch well. So we might not have time for that. It might not be a priority, but
Sounds like
if
we
your
need to make it
listeners
one.
would be interested, we could share that.
well, it sounds like we'll make that a priority. So we'll sneak.
That goes well with the Gavin question too, right?
Yeah.
So maybe start with Gavin and then go to that one?
Yep. That sounds good.
Cool.
I could, if you're looking for time efficiency, if you want to talk about how much part-time work to do or not, I can answer that in a pretty short way.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, we'll start there. We'll start there, and then head to the wise advice for launching kids. All right. Thank you so much for being with us today. This is Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group. My name is Mike Bernard, here in the KFG studios alongside Joshua Gregory and President of Bethel College, Dr. Gregg Chenoweth. If you've missed anything, we've been tackling college planning from, a whole new perspective today. I've found it wildly helpful. If you've missed anything and would like to catch the previous episode or this entire one, first check out the YouTube channel. You can find it on YouTube. Just search Wise Money Radio. You can subscribe to it. You can share it. A lot of people right now are exploring what college to go to for next year. And so very valuable to be listening to Dr. Chenoweth share his perspective, his thoughts. So I'd encourage you to listen that way. Every episode is podcast as well. So you can find it wherever you listen to podcasts, iTunes, Google Play. You'll want to search Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group. That's Korhorn with a K. Lastly, you can find every episode online as well. Wise Money Radio, there's an online player right there. You can just listen right there. If you have a question, you can also submit a question right there on the right also. We've got a few other listener questions here. We've been talking about the ways you can pay for college. Gavin's 48 from Edwardsburg, and he has a very interesting question. I know it's on a lot of your minds. My oldest son is in his freshman year of college. Initially, we were not wanting him to have a part-time job to help pay for school, but rather just focus on getting good grades. Do you typically recommend kids get jobs while attending college, especially as a freshman? What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, let me help the parents with defining normal. Resist the pressure from your kids who you love to have them not work at all. The reality is 1 out of 4 students in America, college students in America, work full-time. 1 out of 4 work full-time.
Wow.
8 out of 10 work part-time. So working some is absolutely normal. The other thing that's really important for parents to know is there was a fascinating study done of 500,000 college students who work part-time out of 500 different colleges and universities. And they looked at the relationship between their work time and their grades. Good question. Because usually the appeal is if I work too much, my grades suffer, and the whole project gets upside down. What they found was that working up to 20 hours per week does not correlate with negative effects on their grades. So I often ask that question, not if they're working, but how much. 15 hours, fine. 12, fine. If you're working 30 hours, wouldn't it be an irony that because college is expensive, I want to work more to pay for it, but I get lower grades or drop out, and now I don't get the financial benefits of the very project I'm working on.
Yeah.
So 20 hours or less is the threshold.
You know, the other thing I like about students working while they go through school, depending on what they're studying and what field they're working in, they may be able to actually start applying some of the knowledge as they're gaining it. You know, you study it in class, you apply it in that part-time job immediately.
Not only that, though, I went to a small school in Lansing, Michigan State University, and I don't know, but most of what I learned in college was time management and so on. So
Yeah.
if you are working, and I worked through college, if you're working and going to school, you get an opportunity to figure out how to do conflict resolution in the workplace, right? Figure out how to adapt to a changing business model, you know, as things evolve where you work. You know, how to lead projects, how to communicate with customers, all sorts of things that are going to be vital for your human capital.
I look at some of the lessons that I learned while I was in my college years, and many of them I learned on the job because you had a boss that just held you accountable or, you know, taught you a work ethic that maybe you would have picked up eventually. But there is absolutely something about juggling multiple responsibilities that will help you grow your character during college.
Yeah, I'm sure there was, you know, lots of value in the technical skills I learned in the classroom, but there was so much value in just managing the college experience and working at the same time.
I wonder how many of this generation are going to be doing some sort of future degree, whether it's another undergrad or a graduate degree, down the road while they're working full-time, while they're a parent.
Yeah.
You know, they may be juggling much more in the future and still learning in the future. So don't coddle your kids. Don't try to protect them because you actually may be preventing them from some important growth.
Okay, so speaking of coddling, so Dr. Chenoweth, as a parent yourself, right, who's been through this, but also as an academic insider, I wonder what wise advice you'd offer to a parent out there who hasn't launched their kids yet from the nest. I mean, what's most important for their development to help launch a kid successfully from the nest, either into college or out of college into a successful career?
You know, this is a fascinating topic for me because, you know, we talked a little bit before this, and you didn't know if we'd have time to get to that, and you said that could be a question. I actually asked my own adult kids that question. I thought maybe your listeners would benefit from hearing from them, not from me.
Yeah.
Here's some things they said. I literally wrote it down. One thing they said was they remember a mantra in our home, which was, follow your dream and we'll visit. And they said, we've benefited from having parents who have not suffocated and suppressed us geographically. Out of your own love for them, you want them close, but it limits them. and they've felt they've benefited from it. It's very hard for a parent to let go like that. But Follow Your Dream and We'll Visit is a different approach for some families. They benefited. Abby, my oldest, she's nearly 26 years old, lives in Los Angeles. She said it's helpful during the high school years and college to speed up the trial and error process for your kids. Speed up the trial and error process. Creating professional exposure opportunities. I remember one time I had a business trip, and she was, I think, a high school junior, and she was always interested a little bit in counseling. So happened to be that I was going to be meeting with the owner of a national counseling service. So I actually flew her there with me, and while I was doing my work, this kind gentleman set up a one-on-one sort of job shadow day or an interview with a professional in that field. And she reflected on that, said that helped her speed up trial and error, helped her skip over things she doesn't like or discover things she did. Another thing that my kids said was, this is kind of funny to me, Allison, my middle one, she's 22. She said, Dad, I remember you forced us at age 4, 5, 6, 7 to, when an adult approach, you forced us to stick our hand out, shake their hand, and introduce our name before they had a chance to ask our name. And I laughed that she remembered that. I do remember doing it, but speeding up trial and error socially. So they feel comfortable navigating that. She said, I remember one time I was 12 years old and we had to cancel a dentist appointment, and you, the mother, Tammy, my wife, Tammy made her call on the phone herself to cancel the appointment. She was scared to do it. You know, it's simple to coach a kid through that, but now at her age, she reflects back and she thought that sped up the trial and error process. Last thing I'd say, my son Aaron is 21. He said, it's important to help your high school and college-bound kids be more concerned about their curiosity than worrying about their certainty. So ask questions about everything. Talk about everything. Parents worry about, are they on the right track? Do they have the right answers? Certainty about those things. He said, help them be more curious, worry more about that. For example, he's interested, like your profession, in either the financial analyst side, money management, or even the client-facing financial planning. And so he's deeply invested in this. And I remember I said, Aaron, you know, why don't you set up a TD Ameritrade account with your own money and live out the reality with your own money, if you're going to counsel others. And so his advice was, that's an area of curiosity for him that he could explore, not to show how, but show what. And so he did. He set it up on his own. And it's funny, he and I will text back and forth sometimes about, Dad, I just lost $40. The market dipped. But for him, that's advice that he gave. So I was encouraged to hear my own kids be in a place where they can reflect themselves on things that help them prepare to launch.
Fabulous.
Yep, it's experiential. And, you know, that's one of the themes, if I can make a tiny little plug for Bethel, and one of their programs in particular, a relatively new one, is the financial services professional degree. And Bethel's going to be graduating its first crop of those students in the spring. We've been excited to have many of them in our office as interns and get to connect with these students. But I love that all of them were required to have 3 internships during their program, and it got them exposed to lots of different kind of segments of the financial services field, so that they could explore, is this something that I really want to do, and have more confidence as they start their career. I think it's going to put them ahead of the pack. And so that's something, I love the advice you're giving from the perspective of a parent, from the education perspective. Make sure that you are getting application time, experience time as you're going through college. Wish that upon your kids and encourage them early.
Dr. Chenoweth, thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure, guys. Thank
I
you.
sure hope it's not the last time. Thanks for investing into this community and sharing your wisdom. On behalf of Dr. Gregg Chenoweth, Joshua Gregory, and myself, and all of us at Korhorn Financial Group, have a great weekend. We'll see you next Saturday for Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group.
Securities offered through Silver Oak Securities, member FINRA/SIPC. Advisory services offered through KFG Wealth Management, LLC. Doing business as Korhorn Financial Group. KFG Wealth Management, LLC and Silver Oak Securities Incorporated companies are unaffiliated.